Let's just start.
Can we start right now?
Yep.
Okay. So, hello everybody. We're group 2. I'm Jamin Kwok.
I'm Preston Lee.
Millie Jing.
I'm Daniel Park.
And I'm Isaac Hall.
So, we worked on examining the impact of race, marital status, and education level on an adult's income in the future. So, to start with the problem definition, we had this big themed question to begin with, which was, to what extent does education level influence income compared to marital status or race? And then to go a little bit more specific with our research, we kind of came up with specific questions, which were, what is the income difference between a white male and an Asian female, like two extremely different categories? And also, do married people earn more money than non-married people, to see a little trend? And yeah, to look into the background, we first had the motivation to look into this issue because we recognize that a lot of young adults lack an understanding of what factors are going to influence their income in the future. So they might have some advantageous traits and disadvantaged traits for them, and they lack the information on these. So we wanted to empower the young adults with essential knowledge and insights that could help them build resilient financial trajectories and informed choices for a successful future in the future.
Yeah, so we actually found our data set on Kaggle, and it was derived from a 1994 US Census, which was actually updated in 2016, which helped keep our data somewhat relevant to what our project was about. And our data set contains 48,842 data entries, which obviously we couldn't access all of them. And also in our data set, there were two columns, work class and occupation, which we felt were important, but we decided to exclude because it didn't fit our topic.
And adding on to that, the overall data set consists of valuable usable data, so the minimal missing data is negligible. And we might have thought that the data might be biased because a large amount of the people were white, but yeah, we moved on from there. But yeah.
Data exploration, race, and education versus income. So our job was to find a relationship between income distribution by race, education number versus income, and income distribution by education number and race. And we used a bar plot, box plot, and a violin plot. So using a bar plot, we try to find the relationship between income distribution by race. And it's kind of hard to tell here, but we can see that the majority earns less than 50K. And we have a high skew for white in this bar plot.
And also, we do recognize that there is a large amount of white people in this graph, but it doesn't really mean that it leads to more people earning more than 50K, because if we look at the ratio, the white people, there's more than 60% earning less than 50K, while if we look at the small amount of people in the Asian Pacific Islander race, the ratio is actually greater in the Pacific Islander race. So it's not about the numbers, but the ratio.
And finding relationship between education number versus income, we can clearly tell that once there's a higher education number, the income goes up, seeing both graphs. And seeing income distribution by education number and race, regardless of race, we can see that there's a higher income when there's a higher education number.
So when you look at the data distribution for race and marital status versus income, you can see on the left, which is a stacked bar plot for income distribution by race, that although, as my partner Jamin said before, the count of white people may be larger, when you look at the ratio between the people that made above 50K and below 50K for each race, you can clearly see that the white people may have more that made less than 50K, but also more that made more than 50K. But if you look at, for example, Black and Asian Pacific Islanders, you can see that the number of people that made above 50K is about the same, but the number of people that made less than 50K is different, which kind of suggests that there is some possibility between a racial disparity. And on the right, you can see a stacked bar plot for income distribution by marital status. And when you look at, for example, the married civ spouse, which is basically just normal marriages, you can see that the ratio of people who made 50K, above 50K and below 50K is much larger than any other one. And that is most likely because there is like emotional and familial stability within each family, because there's no spouse missing. So each one can support each other. However, if you looked at, for example, the divorced and separated or widowed marital status people, you can see that clearly there's a divide between the number of people who make 50K and below 50K. For example, in like the separated and divorced, there's hardly any people that make above 50K. And this data could most likely be explained by, for example, having like working as a single mother or a single father working to support their family. So they may not have enough time to put more time into their job and earn more money.
Okay, so these two graphs are used to illustrate the differences in income between white males and Asian females. And we just wanted to dive deeper into our statistical analysis, specifically targeting Asian females who are often underrepresented and given a lower salary compared to the typical white male. As shown in the graphs, although both groups contain more than 50% of people who generate less than 50K a year, the drastic difference is shown in the percentage of those who make more than 50K a year. So white males are seen to have nearly 3 times of a larger percentage of people than Asian females, who only around only 12% who make more than 50K a year.
And after doing all this data analysis and getting to know much of the data, we wanted to create this predictor model, which told us which traits have the most significant impact on an individual's income. So basically what factors like race, does race impact income the most? Does education or anything like that? So basically we took the standard scalar and the logistic regression libraries from scikit-learn, and we wanted to find the likelihood of a person earning 50K based on different numerical variables. And for string value variables like sex and income, we converted them to true false float values to put them into the model as well. And if we look at the analysis and results, so basically the score in this case is the probability of the algorithm to predict if an individual will earn more or less than 50K, ranging from 0 to 1. So basically, if it's closer to 0, that means the variable is not very relevant when it comes to guessing for income. And if it's closer to 1, it's very relevant when guessing for income. And when we put it through the algorithm and ran it through, the highest score was given when we used the variables education and capital gain loss. So that means using having the values for education and capital gain loss, you were able to predict if one will earn 50K or not. And the lowest score was given by age and sex, as shown below. So from looking at our results and the correlations we looked at earlier, we found out that education is one of the main factors that should be considered by young adults, since it accurately represents the chances of individual having a certain amount of income. And although race and marital status show statistical correlations with income, its significance is much less compared to education and capital gain loss from the model we have. So we just wanted to just have a conclusion, and our conclusion is that as young adults at very close to adulthood, our model and research serves as valuable tools to visualize and explore strategies for personal development, paving the way towards future success. And after this, we also looked at the data set and recognized that there were so much more possibilities to research with this data set. So I'll pass it on to Daniel to discuss something that we also found.
So one such possibility that we just decided to do some additional research on was the relationship between age and marital status, just because we had a little bit more time left and because why not? So we used the age range of each generation of the American population to see the correlation between each generation and the marital status of the American population. The question we asked was, are marriage rate, next slide. The question we asked was, are marriage rates falling down in the modern American population? So looking at the histogram over here, we can see how rates of marriage are going down while rates of people who are never married are drastically rising. And within the more recent generation of people who have been married, there are higher rates of divorce. Next slide. From this, we can conclude that people are marrying less in the past. However, some things to consider are that the people of the younger generation, such as Gen Z, can still get married in the future as they might still be too young to marry yet. However, this could imply that people are either beginning to focus more on their work, such as women in the workforce, rather than marriage, and also that the overall mental health and well-being and life satisfaction of the American population could be on a decline. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
You.
All right. Okay, so everybody, do you have any questions? Yeah, please, participate.
Oh yeah, quick question.
Mhm.
Was there a reason you guys used $50,000 as like your baseline, or could you have used
So basically this data set is a pretty popular data set. It has been used by many researchers in the past, like I think a data science project at UC Irvine as well. It's like data set, it has a column that has earns 50K or less. That's why. And then it has a true or false. So that's why we use this. But yeah.
Yeah, so in the past, and then 50K means something, but
Yeah.
maybe these days, it's a little bit higher, probably.
Yeah, because since this was made in 1994, but it was updated in 2016. So yeah.
So
Other
any
questions?
Yeah. Yeah, I have one question. So can you show the scores?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so if you look at these scores, they are very close.
Mm-hmm.
From 0.82 and the 0.81.
Yes.
The smallest one is 0.78. So when
Yes.
the score is this much, small,
Mm-hmm.
can you still claim that, okay, so education, well, something is more important than others?
So basically these are not all of the like trials we had. We actually ran it through with most of the combinations we could have. And we did find a very strong strong continuation of high scores when we put in always put in education and capital gain loss, compared to other ones. If we swapped it in for just one thing, it would just drastically increase it by 0.5 or something. I mean 0.05. So I think it clearly shows that education still is the strongest
So you are
scoring.
talking about, the investigating some other the variables too.
Mhm.
They are not really, the related. Okay.
Not as much as education.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so then maybe if you show some kind of contrasting result, and then say that some parts is not really related, and the education is highly related,
Mhm.
I think that is a kind of better presentation.
Okay.
As it is, and then it looks like you only consider education, and then all the scores are all very similar. So I don't know how to differentiate them.
Okay.
Mhm. All right. And in some previous, the graphs, and you use, some absolute numbers. Yeah, but why not, using some percentages? Then
For
we
which
have
ones?
some, statistical analysis when you see some distributions, yeah, something like that.
Uh-huh.
No, so bar graph, yeah, these kind of things. So it's very difficult to see, right? So definitely you can see the overall distribution, but inside, some each race, and then if you show some percentages,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
then it's much easier to understand, which race has the most percentage in over 50K or under 50K, something like that.
Yeah, we'll take into account that next time. It's just that the white race was like way too like populated in this data set.
So many times, when you compare, one number is big and one number is small, then it's very difficult to compare. So then we have the concept of, the normalization, right?
Mhm.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.